Young Turk gives you an idea of what the people here. And it's wise to meet people here, to interact with people here, so they give you an understanding. So when you go to these places over in other parts of the world, you have a better understanding on who they are. And just leave, take your American typical mindset off. And that's what I did. Even though I'm from this country, been in this country, lived this country all my life, but when you come into the purpose of God, that don't matter. When you come into the purpose of God, He opens you up and to see people through how He sees people. And sometimes you have to start at the beginning of seeing people with people is among people in your own country. He has to journey you. Before you can go overseas in mission, you got to learn to do missionary work here in the States. You have to come out your comfort zone in the States. And people who have done missionary work here and done missionary work here know what I'm talking about. In order to be in uncomfortable places, to be around people that you know, they have different personalities, they don't have what you have, and things like that. Most people in America, I say a certain percentage of people in America, even though we interact and we see people in stores and public places, most people don't interact with other people of different nationality, of another nationality, unless there's three things: education, hospitalization, or something like a public, even out in the public, like if it's a festival or a fair, we don't really interact with people. Most people in America, a certain percentage of people don't interact with other people. They have a conversation. Very seldom. We stay in our own little clique. We have our own little clout. And it don't matter what race of human beings you are in America. Every human being stays among their own little clique. And I can tell you that from my experience. Living in Ohio, living in Youngstown, family in Cleveland, lived in Cincinnati, lived in Kentucky, just living across the border, I can tell there's a difference. People in general don't interact with other people. That's a fact. And so they say these ignorant things that they don't know nothing about. They hear by hearsay about, oh, those people over in that part of the world gonna take advantage of you. They never, and I ask you, have they ever interacted with the people from that part of the world? No, but I heard. But you don't even you never talk to somebody, and I guarantee you, the people that they watch overseas, or they got a spouse from overseas, they never talk with somebody is from over there. You got people from South America in the United States. You got people from Mexico is in the United States. You got people from Thailand and the Philippines is in the United States. But how many of these people interact with the people that's from there? How many people that interact with people from the place? So how would they know? Have they been to the church? Have they been to the have they been to the temples or synagogues or whatever? Not chances out, because you know why? Because some people don't interact with other people because they're afraid to get to know another person, or if they don't, they got to think the way I think. If they don't do what I do, then I'm my American mindset. I'm better than them, and it's just that's something that we have a Western mindset, and some people who have a Western mindset, that's their mindset. We're patriotic, we're American, we this, and that's what it is. And you got to get to know me, and that's the way it is. And it's kind of like it's never a mutual thing. It's never I get to know you, when you go into some, when you go around people, I'll come across, and as I get older, I understand this. People are very narrow-minded. People are self-centered. You learn that people are self-interest. You learn that people that if it ain't talking about what they ain't talking about, they want the attention on them. And this probably started when they was a child. They want the attention on them because, and then do say some outrageous things, do the outrageous things just to get attention. And some people carry that over into adulthood. That's a fact. And so they say these insecure things, and you just sit back and say, well, that's, in your logical mind, well, that don't make no sense. We don't really know these people. So when I'm watching a video and they talk with someone that's been on the ground, traveled all over the world, been in some parts of places and living there, people get jealous. And there's a sense of jealousy. So people say hurtful things because they're jealous. Let me shut down my remote. I'm sorry. They're jealous. And jealousy is in the human spirit. And they troll people because they're jealous. Because they're not happy in their part of life where they're not at. And so they criticize somebody who's been over in another part of the world, living their best life in another part of the world, instead of humbling yourself and learning what can I do to make money to live in that part of the world if I choose to. How does this person do it? So they hate on them. And so it brings me to the topic of these men that travel and some women that travel too, that choose to live abroad and say, hey, get your passport and find something different because the way of living is a lot better over here. You might get healthier. You have people that's in America that is so narrow-minded they can't think outside their block. You got people that can't think outside their neighborhood. You got people here that if you tell them, have you been on another side of town? They look at you like you're crazy. This is in America. There's some people that live in towns and cities in America all their life, and they never cross another part of town because that's a certain area is forbidden to go over there because of the makeup of the people, because it's competition, west versus east, north versus south, and everything in between. That's a fact. And let alone them thinking outside the box. They go to, some people go to a church and they be at a church, the same church, for the rest of their life, and they never allow God to grow them, to take them to different places around. You don't necessarily have to leave the United States, but even go to another part of a city or state or town. Some people don't want to change, let alone go overseas. So when you dare to dream different, there's a crab in the barrel mentality. People try to pull you down. The jealousy and the envious of you, because they can't. They don't have the charisma. They don't have, and it's not that they can't do it. It's just that they're afraid to do it. They don't want to do it because they think that the environment is what they do. You look here. Just like some people in a small town, you got some people in the hood that's in the hood. People in a small town and people in the hood got similar same thing. People in a small town think that everything comes around the small town. They were raised in that small town. They were raised to think and be productive and grow in that mentality. People in the hood is the same way. People that live in bad neighborhoods, they think that you you know, they have to be the road gutter person. That this is that being what your pigmentation of your skin is. This is as far as you're gonna go, and you just like me. That's why we call each other the N word, because we've been indoctrinated to think that this is as far as you're gonna go, because the music tells you this is where you are in your hood, and it takes what kind of clothing, what kind of style, and never uh, dream to step outside and take your thinking to a whole different level. And for some of us who decide to understand that people who are able to take their money and resources and go to another part, we understand that some of us, and some of us like myself who don't have the finances and resources, but I don't get mad and jealous at someone who are over there in different parts of the world living their best life, because they found an opportunity. If anything, I learned just even God by me showing me in the church is that by being around different people, you learn something, because without having bias and opinions, and you're gonna find some people that's gonna be prejudiced and biased among them. You're gonna find some people that's gonna be prejudiced. Even among every ethnic group of people, there's someone have some kind of bias. Every group of people have some type of bias. I'm learning this. Every group of people have against another group of people by association and perception of what they've been told on TV or from someone's experience. That's a fact. But they never find out for themselves. So that's the truth. But that's why I understand people who travel, even though I've never traveled. Only place I've been was to Canada. like jumping over going 8 hours over from Pennsylvania to New York over the border to Canada. That's as far as I've ever gone outside the United States. You know, never been to Mexico, never been to Latin America, never been to the Philippines, never been to Europe and other places. But I understand. But thank God, God can bless me to go. But if I do, I have an understanding, because I don't have that biased warped opinion. You know, all my life I've been an outcast. You know, I got very few friends. I've always had very few friends. You know, family members that are very close.